Hello, so we are here at ITEC and we have a very special guest today. So can you introduce yourself and your company?
Yes, I'm Lewis Dutel. I'm COO of Arculus Solutions. We're a company out of the United States. We originally developed this technology at MIT, and we initially moved into hydrogen, repurposing of existing pipelines for hydrogen transport. And we've recently moved into working with natural gas pipelines and CO2 pipelines. So we've started working with oil and gas companies as well as hydrogen transport. And so some of that new work with oil and gas companies got us into this ITEC event.
Interesting. And so I'm understanding that this is a new expansion into China. Can you talk a little bit more about how you started considering China as an opportunity and what you're doing here?
Right. So I would say that our CEO has more experience in hydrogen. He's a PhD from MIT, and my background is oil and gas. I was a senior drilling engineer for an oil and gas company in new technology. And so I have some experience with oil and gas projects in China. And so there was an opportunity as we moved into oil and gas in the United States to come and move into China as well. So our technology is fairly easy to replicate and deploy. We find local partners. We talk to oil and gas super majors, and then we work through those local partners to do work for the oil and gas super majors like Sinopec, or in this case, Pipe China.
Interesting. And so what are the biggest opportunities that you're seeing right now in this space with regards to China?
Well, I would tell you it's very easy to work with these Chinese companies. I've only been here for 2 days. I met with an oil and gas technology provider that does pigging and pipeline inspections. They set up a meeting in the very first day with Sinopec. So we met with an integrity engineer with Sinopec, which is essentially the people we talk to. And then we were also able to get a meeting with Pipe China tomorrow. So we found a company to work with, and we've talked to a super major oil and gas company, and we've also talked now to the biggest pipeline company in China, all within 3 days. So I think this event was very, very well done, and we've been able to connect to people and set up face-to-face meetings in a very short period of time.
Wow, that's really, really quick. So I guess on that note, what are some misconceptions that people might have about China and expanding into China?
I would tell you that the misconceptions people may have is that there's going to be a language barrier or there's going to be difficulties. And what I've found, it's very easy to operate here. It's very easy to get around. You know, you may feel kind of overwhelmed or that it's very difficult to come to China and operate. It's very easy to come into Beijing. Public transport is very easy to use. I was able to get around very easily. I would just say that it's not nearly as expensive as it is in the US. The hotels were cheaper, things like that. And so when you come over here, it's very safe. It's very easy to meet people. The language barrier is not great. It's been very easy to overcome that. And so, you know, if you have a chance to expand into China, I think it's very easy to come over here and move forward. You know, the things we're doing to replicate and deploy in China, we're also doing in the Middle East, and we're doing in India. And I would say those places are harder to get around, and maybe you don't feel quite as safe, or you feel like you're just a little bit out of your element. But what I've found here is that it's very easy to come here as an American and get around and communicate with people and get work done.
That's so interesting. So it seems that you've kind of found that China moves quicker and is more welcoming than
Right.
it seemed to be before. So on that note, I'm also curious to know, so right now a lot of talk is happening about like, is it possible to expand into China? Like, should we be considering this as a trading partner? And you mentioned as well that you're kind of plugging and playing solutions. Have you had to adjust your strategy or your product or service offering for the Chinese market? Or have you found that it's pretty easy to just kind of plug and play and use a similar approach?
I think it's plug and play. I think that one thing in the past, so I'm older, and in the past there was a fear that if you brought your technology into China, it could be copied. It'd be difficult to compete and things like that. But what I've found here, especially with this event with ITEC and Founders Layer, is that there's people that you can talk to and you can feel that you're protected and that there's some freedom to operate here. And it's not like you have to have this fear that you're going to lose control of your technology in China. So I think that's something that people should understand, because that's a little bit of a misconception outside of China, that, you know, you could lose your technology, or that, you know, the IP protection's not there. But what I'm seeing through ITEC and some of the events we're doing here is that the protections here are just as strong as they are anywhere else. And if you work through some of these accelerators, then you're in a pretty good place and you have good partners. And in turn, those partners can help create additional protection, especially like Chaoyang. You know, if you're in this area working here and you're tied to local companies, those companies are going to help you, you know, not only replicate and deploy your technology and commercialize it, but to provide some protection against competitors.
That sounds really interesting. So it seems that there really is kind of this network around attracting foreign talent and foreign business into China that isn't what we necessarily see on the broader stage. So, yeah.
I would agree with that.
So thank you so much for your
All
time.
right.
I really appreciate it. So
All right,
we'll see you
thank
around.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks.
you.